This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I have got Dr. Svitlana Kominko with me from Kempfel. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here, Kathy.
You are the CEO and co-founder of the Maple Hope Foundation. We're going to talk about a few things. We want to talk about your foundation. We want to talk about what's going on in the Ukraine right now. You moved from Ukraine, you moved to Vancouver, and now you're in the Kempfel area, and you're trying to spread awareness about what's going on in the Ukraine. So maybe let's start and talk a little bit about, maybe give an update about what's going on in the Ukraine right now.
Thank you, Kathy. It's 8 months of war, as we all know. It's winter is coming. We all understand that it will be a very harsh winter. People on the occupied territories, because our army is progressing on different fronts and liberating small villages and towns. A couple days ago, one of the largest regional capitals, Kherson, was liberated, and we hear horrible stories because people are without electricity, people don't have access to the water. There is a humanitarian crisis. I just got a text yesterday from one of the members of parliament from Ukraine, who took their weapon and signed up to defend Ukraine when the war started. And he said that if large humanitarian organizations have access and they're entering large cities and bring food and suppliers and heaters, warm blankets, sleeping bags, the small towns and villages, people there are suffering because a lot of roads are not safe to drive. There are a lot of mined roads, and it's very dangerous to drive them. So our army and professionals are slowly trying to clear the way that volunteers and humanitarian organizations can get to these people. And I'm actually terrified because every single town or village, we know this from a much experience, the liberated Bucha, Irpin, Hostomel, small towns just outside of Kiev that were signs of war crimes and tortures. And every time a new town or village is liberated, we can see this evidence of war crimes. And this is horrible. It's hard to believe this is happening in 21st century, actually in Europe, but this is Ukraine today.
And people are literally losing their homes. They're literally losing their communities, and they have to move on and move on and move on. And we're talking about women, we're talking about small children, we're talking about families, the elderly. They've lost their homes. They have to move on, and where do they go?
I have to say that the numbers speak for themselves, and this is the biggest crisis, migration crisis or refugee crisis since the Second World War. Over 10 million of Ukrainians are on the move. Some are on the move inside of Ukraine, where they are relocating from eastern part of Ukraine, from the territories that are close to the Russian borders to the western Ukraine. And over 7 million of Ukrainians left Ukraine. And predominantly they started their life in Europe. And we know that over 600,000 Ukrainians applied for a visa, emergency travel visa, to come to Canada, and over 3,100 are already here. Some, of course, went to United States of America. And I am in touch with many Ukrainian women and children that came here because Maple Hope Foundation was helping to find housing, jobs, to integrate children into the school system. And I can tell you that there are a lot of trauma going on because there are a lot of loss. It's not just the loss of the home, it's just loss of the future, certain life, loss of the dreams, loss of the family members, loss of the favorite playground for a child, a school, a teacher, a friend, a favorite toy. There are a lot of loss and grieving. Those are probably two major words that can describe how Ukrainians on a human level coping on a daily basis with the atrocities of war.
The coping mechanisms on these people are phenomenal. They have to move on, and just the fact that so many women and children are moving on, but the fathers and grandfathers have to stay back and fight too. So they've lost that connection. They've lost the family. They lost their friends. It's phenomenal. So you were out in Vancouver, and they have this Maple Hope Foundation. You've moved to Kemptville, and you're starting it in our area, in Kemptville and the Ottawa area. Can you talk a little bit about what Maple Hope Foundation is?
Yes, Maple Hope Foundation is non-for-profit organization, Canadian organization. We started to focus on people that suffer from war in 2014. Right after Revolution of Dignity, when Russia occupied Crimea, when the war started in Donbass, we decided that we need to do something. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't able to focus on my main work because Maple Hope Foundation is a volunteer-run, led by volunteers, non-for-profit organization. We have zero admin cost. Everything we raise, we spend on our projects. I am an educator by profession. I was teaching all my life in Canada at British Columbia Institute of Technology in Vancouver, and was responsible for international program development there. And when the war started, I took a leave of absence, and together with my husband, we went to Ukraine in 2014-15. We volunteered in military hospitals, primarily helping veterans that were severely injured during the war, the first phase of the war, amputees. And we brought these young guys to Vancouver for prosthetics, for rehabilitation program. Then it actually struck us the suffering, not from the physical wounds, but the psychological, emotional state, the trauma that they were coping with. And at that time, Ukraine didn't have any resources, or Ukrainian psychologists, they were not ready. They were not ready to face that crisis of people that were so traumatized that couldn't open up. The suicide rate started to increase. The separation in the families, their misunderstanding, or the huge gap between what was happening in Donbass during the war crisis, and bringing that, literally the war of the mind, bringing to their children, to their loved ones, to their families, and lack of understanding how to live, how to continue to live when in front of you you saw your best friend, or your member of your battalion was killed, right, just in front of you, and you carry that guilt, and you wish, why did I why did I live, right? Why do I continue to live where so many counterparts are already not with me?
When we talk about PTSD and trauma like this sort of thing too, we always try to tell people, reach out, talk to somebody. If it's a family member, reach out to somebody. You don't have to suffer this alone. There's a lot of resources, a lot of help out there. So reach out to people, reach out and get some help. Just talk to somebody. You don't have to live this by yourself. And means sometimes we can't understand because you went through it, but we can help you through it.
Yes, exactly. But there is also this, I guess, pride.
Yes.
It's a cultural thing. I hear so many times from Ukrainians that fled the war and came to Canada, and they were in tears. They said, "I would always rely on myself. I never asked for help, and now I am in a position where I need to ask for help." Especially those that come to Canada with a limited English. It's impossible to survive.
Right.
You need to rely on others. We need each other. We to connect, to ask for help, to move forward. Sometimes just to sit in quiet place, right, and just to have someone close to you doesn't mean you need to open up and share everything, but just that knowledge that there is someone who is ready, right, to support, um, to, to to smile at you, just to ask how are you doing, right? I'm here for you,
That's
and
right.
it means a lot. Yeah.
That's right. Well, this is so good of you to start this, the Maple Hope Foundation here, because Canada wants to help. I know we do. That's what we are. We're Canadians and we want to help too. So I'm so glad you're here today to tell us more about the Maple Hope Foundation. How do people find out more about you? You're in Kemptville and you're in the Equinelle area there too. How do people get a hold of you? How do people learn? How do people volunteer? Can you tell us?
Yes, of course. We are on all social media channels, on Instagram, on Facebook. Uh, Visit our website, maplehopefoundation.org, where we have updates about our current projects. The contact information is on the website as well. We have a huge group of volunteers of Vancouver. We are expanding here in Ottawa area, in Kemptville, trying to raise awareness about our project, our current project, which is very dear to my heart. It's Project Liza, a project project for children to provide sustainable financial support for children who lost their parents or parent who are separated from their parents. There are so many families that were able to send their children to a safer part of Ukraine, but they had to give a bribe to Russian guards that they would allow these children to leave occupied territory. But the parents didn't have money to pay. And we do support these children in Western Ukraine who are staying just with the parents of their classmates or with some distant family members or some friends. And we don't know when they are going to be reunited. And there is no support from the government because as everything going on in front of the entire world, the Ukrainian government is trying to build the programs that would help predominantly to support children whose parents were in the Ukrainian armed forces. But we do have a lot of volunteer battalions. And this woman, brave woman and men are defending Ukraine, but they are not the part of the United Armed Forces of Ukraine. We do have lots of volunteers, and as a matter of fact, we do have now a girl in our program whose father was just a Red Cross volunteer, and he was helping to find bodies of Ukrainians that were under the damaged buildings. And as a result of shelling, he was killed together with his parents in the apartment building. And this 10-year-old girl lost her father, her grandparents at the same day. And she fled Mykolaiv region with her mom without anything. They lost their home and they lost their loved ones. And there are different stories like this. And that's our goal, not just send a Christmas gift once. We want these children to feel that somebody far away in Canada knows about their suffering and ready to help. So there are many ways how can you support this families. There are stories on our website on the project Liza. You can support particular child, a family. You can donate to the general pool, and that would be on our discretion. Who do we send money to? Winter is coming. These kids need warm clothes. They need school supplies. They need food, and they need to understand and feel that somebody cares. That somebody cares about them.
That's right. That's right. Well, you know, I need to have you come back here and we'll do another FYI because I believe we have just touched the surface of everything you're doing. I'm just so touched. I'm so overwhelmed. You know, we know what's going on over there, and we need to continue to be aware. We need to continue to learn. We need to continue to support. So I need to ask you to come back. We'll do this again because, like I say, we have just touched the surface of everything you're doing.